There was a very long period of time where I would be talking to a guy and he would treat me horribly. Just so horribly. No matter what I did, I missed him or I really wanted him and I knew he was bad for me. A lot of my friends were like, you just need to love yourself. That's what it is. And I never understood the you just need to love yourself thing because in my head, I'm like, I do love myself. If you can relate to this in literally any way, please, I'm begging you, go on a break from guys.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
Well, madam, as a representative and proud member of the illustrious Bottom 95% Club, allow me to be the first self-respecting man to completely and wholeheartedly support your completely pointless plan of abstaining from dudes. In fact, we'll do you one better. We won't even talk to you. I mean, how terrible of human men would we be if we tried to interrupt your healing journey as you go to find your most true and authentic self? That would be just plain rude. It's not like it really matters anyway. I mean, you said it yourself, lady. You keep choosing terrible men and then you get shocked when they don't treat you the way you want to be treated. The irony ain't lost on us. You keep going after these guys who treat you terribly, and then you blame us invisible plebs for the mistreatment of women. Even though all you really have to do is take a look at the rogues gallery of bad boys you've quote-unquote dated in the past, and it becomes all the more clear. You want the excitement that these dudes provide, and that's totally your choice. But trying to ignore them isn't going to work out the way you think because you're going to approach these guys every time they show you the minimum amount of eye contact, and you'll automatically throw out all the red flags because the next bad boy will be completely different from the slew of bad boys that you've slept with. But feel free to try, woman. The only one who's going to be shocked at the end result will be you.
I know that's not what you want to hear. It's not that you need to love yourself more. It's that you need to love your life more. In those 4 months or however long you take that break, do things that you would want a boyfriend to do for you. Buy yourself flowers. Go to dinner with your friends. Go on little solo dates. Do things that you love. Just fully invest your time in them. And it's gonna suck. It's not gonna be easy. But once you master that, when I tell you, dating is so much easier now for me.
Really?
You know, it's kind of crazy how modern women think that buying themselves flowers is somehow the magical key to the magic door that's going to help them forget about the fact that they are spectacular life failures. I don't know what it is about these women insisting on buying themselves a bunch of colorful weeds that will wilt away and die that somehow correlates to a lifetime's worth of satisfaction. All it will do is remind you of how much you'd rather have a dude buy you those weeds. It'll just make you more lonely, more bitter, and more resentful towards the very same men that you spent the first half of your life blatantly ignoring. You'll take yourself out on a date and then look with sheer jealousy at all of the happy couples surrounding you as you post your plate of dinner for your Instagram page. Then you'll go home, you'll throw on some sweatpants and eat a can of cake frosting and then watch a whole bunch of reality television as you stare at the flowers that you wished a man purchased for you. And here is the best part. You're actually wasting your own money to pay for that particular privilege. You're going to be sitting there and thinking about how treating yourself the way you want a man to treat you is going to fill that particular void. But I hate to break it to you, sister, there's no filling that void. Tyrone Deanna Jones hollowed out that particular void so wide that nothing can fill it.
Because I genuinely love my life so much, if that guy does not bring value into it, if he does not make my life better, I don't want him. Not gonna accept these horrible, bare minimum things from guys. Why would I bring this unpeaceful thing into my life when I'm flourishing so much by myself? And also, guys want this too. They want you to have your own life. They want you to be self-sufficient on your own.
Not scientifically possible!
Well, I'm here to tell you, sweet cheeks, most self-respecting men couldn't give a damn about what you do with your time. You've been brainwashed into thinking that men want hyper-independent women who buy their own flowers and are dumb enough to date themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, you most certainly should have your own life, but my question is, why are you waiting until now to get that started? Isn't that something you should have figured out back in high school? Why is it that you needed to get run through before turning around and saying that the key to getting yourself a good guy is to somehow become even more self-absorbed than you already are? I mean, think about it, lady. You've had your entire life to figure things out, and the only thing you've figured out is the definition of insanity. You keep chasing after the same kind of men and expecting each one to be different. And you think the key to fixing this is to get a life, which is something you should have already done. That's what we did. Self-respecting men have lives, hobbies, and friends, which are all things that you clearly lack. And you suck so badly at it that you think the trick to getting a life is to buy yourself flowers, take yourself out on dates, and then blame us for your terrible decisions and your clear-cut case of emotional damage. Well, it's not, darling. You were given the chance to completely screw up your life, and believe you me, woman, you did not disappoint in that regard.
That's funny because it's so true.
Men always assume this, and I, for the life of me, do not understand. Anytime my friend and I invite guys to come to our singles events, they always assume that it's going to be 80% majority men. Like, they'll be like, oh, like, I think it's gonna be a sausage fest. Like, I think I speak for most guys when I say, like, we're not gonna come because it's all gonna be other guys. That's not the case, ever. Like, gone to multiple singles events. I'm hosting singles events now myself. In every situation, it's majority women. And they're all really cool, fun, attractive women.
They know. They just don't care.
Well, I'm not sure what guys you've been talking to, sweetheart, but in our circles, the reason why men don't attend these singles events isn't because they're sausage fests. They're more like taco parties. But these particular tacos have been sitting under a heat lamp for over a decade. They're stale, rotten, and consuming them runs the risk of a significant infection that requires no less than 4 rounds of hardcore antibiotic treatments. The types of women who go to these things are so socially inept that they're incapable of getting a man in their lives, despite the fact that these very same women had literally every single advantage for doing so. So, in a last-ditch effort to try and find a guy, they go to these events in hopes of either finding a man to settle for or clinging on to the delusional hope that Pookie Hauser MD will show up and pick her out of a police lineup of used up and virtually worthless old broads. We know this. We've seen countless testimonials of it. We don't go to them because these events offer practically nothing. Now, the dudes who say it's going to be full of other single dudes might be misinformed, but the sentiment remains the same. And that sentiment is that these events are just not worth it. And self-respecting men have better things to do with their money than waste it on an event that reeks of broken dreams and yeast infections.
In New York, women here, in my personal experience, they are very willing to sign up for events. They're willing to put in effort to make connections with people, both platonic and romantic. And I have found it not to be the case for men. So I don't know where that perception's coming from. If anyone has any idea, what is that barrier? The reason that we're reaching out to these men is because it's harder to get men to sign up for these events. And yet when we ask them to sign up, they say they don't want to sign up because they think it will all be men. It's like, no, the reason I'm reaching out to you is because there is no men. Like, what is it? I don't understand.
Idiots! It's simple!
Oh, wow. Your brain is more broken than I anticipated, and I was not prepared for that level of stupid. All right, woman, I'm just gonna spell it out for you. You see, a woman doesn't really need to try that hard to find a guy. She can literally walk up to a dude, chat him up, and if there's something there, you'll most likely get a phone number, a date, and if you play your cards right, a speedy divorce where you can get a quick payday. But modern women are so inept that they can't even get that right. The problem is not the lack of eligible bachelors. It's the fact that there's a surplus of idiot single women who completely botched up something as simple as basic human pair bonding. So let me ask you this, Toots. If these women are so gorgeous, smart, funny, and just the total package, then why in the hell are they still single? Well, I can answer that for you. It's not because there aren't a lot of dudes in the dating world. It's the fact that there are not enough of the dudes that you and your brood of double X chromosome possessing screw-ups actually want. And even if you'd be willing to give the rest of the men that you ignored for over a decade a chance, there's no way that you'd be able to. You'd constantly be comparing them to the men that you want to the point where you'd silently hate them. So when you put all that together with a how do you do, why should any self-respecting man pay for the privilege to interact with a woman who's ultimately going to hate him? I'll give you a hint, lady. He's not.
You know that. Of course I do, sir. Everybody knows that.
Of course we do, sir!
Ovulating is hell. My puppies are so big. Gaming isn't saving me. My autism is screaming. So I'm sorry. I'm just gonna need to take this off really quick. It's just, oh my God, almost there. Hold on. Let's just untie this last little part. Okay. Oh, wait. I can't show you this here. Want to see this meltdown go wild?
No.
Yeah, sorry lady, the idea of wasting my time with a broad like you sounds about as much fun as getting a massive rug burn while being pulled by a pissed off bull. Besides, I really can't help you out anyway because I got things on my plate that are significantly bigger than your overrated jugs.
And now, a special television event.
You know, when you're going through intergalactic bounty hunting training, you get taught a lot of random yet significantly important things, like never leaving space dock without a minimum of 36 pairs of socks, and making sure that your dropkick skills are always up to date with the latest plugins, but most importantly, never get involved in a drinking contest with a Danish grad student. Now, the first two are fairly obvious, but the third one? I don't know, because if you ask me, getting involved in a drinking contest with a Danish grad student is probably one of the reasons why I'm still alive and kicking today. But I think I might be getting a little ahead of myself here. Now, this was long before I decided to take my intergalactic space bounty hunting entrance exams. I was backpacking my way through Sector Sigma, and I was in New Copenhagen. It was a fairly popular backpacking destination at the time. The hostels were always cheap, the beer steins were always full, and ironically enough, it had the best ramen to ever exist in the sector. And if you know anything about me, I can never say no to a good bowl of ramen. But as much as a hot bowl of savory noodle soup was tempting, I was on the hunt for something bigger. Nah, I was on the hunt for glory. Now, Glory was this famous dive bar that hosted something that would even bring a tear to the eyes of a man like Skeeter himself. And that was the medieval mechanical bull tourneys that was hosted every night. And the second I heard about this, I knew I had to sign up post-haste. I mean, who wouldn't? It's every man's dream to knock over another man with a foam jousting lance while riding a mechanical bull. But my excitement was rather short-lived as I saw my first opponent in the ranks. It was the only man who could make a mechanical bull medieval fight sound like a pain in the ass, and there he was, Cody. Now, Cody was in town trying to peddle his brand of canned imitation hedgehog milk with a bunch of tourists from Brussels. He took one look at me and said that if I wasn't going to help him sell his milk to Europeans, then he was going to knock me down a peg by launching me off my mechanical bull and embarrass me in front of a whole bunch of Danish people. And that's the last thing I needed. But he was gripping that lance in a way that was confident yet oddly questionable. We rode down the lanes and he got me square in the chest and I fell over like a drunken sack of potatoes. When I came to, Cody was standing there, triumphantly bragging that he finally got one over on me, when all of a sudden a massive roar filled the bar. And this was a roar that could be made by none other than the mythical Danish Viking. Now, this man was a born champion. I'm not kidding. The day he was born, the doctor took one look at him and dubbed him the champion of all babies. Now, whether or not it was because he was profoundly muscular for a baby or just out of pants defecating fear, it didn't matter. He was given a championship belt and his conquest hath begun. Ever since then, he dominated every single contest he ever entered. He threw a massive tree log over 62 feet. He's responsible for creating the universe's highest quality yogurt, and he even won a massive speech contest by writing up a compelling little ditty about how The Northman was one of the quaintest comedy films he's ever seen. He got me on my feet, dusted me off, and took me over to the bar where he ordered us a pair of the finest, strongest, cheapest steins of ale that Glory had to offer. And he did it out of respect. He knew a fellow champion when he saw one, even if I didn't see it in myself. And if there's one thing that this man loved more than being a champion, it was vengeance. And when it was his turn to ride the mechanical bull joust, he did not hesitate. He darted down the gym mat lined floor with his foam lance in hand, screaming about intergalactic space Valhalla, and he knocked Cody on his ass as if it were nothing. Cody spent the next 30 seconds being relentlessly laughed at by everyone in the bar, but he wasn't done yet. The joust was only the first event. He looked right at us and said that he was going to take us down in the next event, the foam sword melee. The Danish Viking just laughed at him and bellowed out, "If it is humility by the sword thou shalt seek, then thou shalt have it." Cody stood there with his foam katana in hand, and he was backed by about 7 of his best genetically enhanced Amish bodyguards, all armed with foam farming implements. The Danish Viking handed me a foam broadsword and said now was our time to prove ourselves worthy into entering space Valhalla. Our blood was pumping in a way that can only happen when you're about to hit a dude in the face with a foam sword. And when the battle commenced, it would have been a bloodbath if we were actually armed with edged weapons. The Danish Viking ran in first with his massive foam battle axe, and before we knew it, 3 Amish men were on the floor, writhing in pain from the skin burns. I rushed in with my broadsword and started swinging it like a friggin' maniac. It was a blur of sword swinging and dodging foam pitchfork stabs, and one by one, each and every genetically enhanced Amish warrior fell. And there we stood, a drunken intergalactic bounty hunter and a massive intergalactic Viking facing off against that asshole Cody. Cody just stood there, pretending like he knew how to use his foam katana. The mythical Danish Viking was about to rush him when I told him that if anybody needed to earn their way into Valhalla, it was me. He gave me a look of respect and stood down. I rushed towards Cody as he tried to raise up his katana, and I took one swing and broke Cody's cheap dollar store sword. He just stood there, holding a plastic hilt, and immediately gave up and walked away in shame. The Danish Viking walked up to me, grabbed my arm, and raised it in a way that only a man like that could, like a freaking champion. We celebrated our victory in the appropriate manner, and that was with a massive mead drinking contest where he regaled me with stories about how he defeated an entire horde of Jacorian peasants with nothing but a paperclip and a few empty cans of meal food. We feasted on roasted yak as I told him my stories about how I apprehended a radio pirate by flooding his illegal call-in show with prank calls and pizza deliveries that he didn't order. We drank, feasted on hot wings, and, well, alright, to be honest, it gets kinda hazy after that. I vaguely remember us dueling on mechanical bulls as a solidification of our brotherhood, but I blacked out after that. I came to in a dumpster about 6 hours later. I have no idea where the mythical Danish Viking went, but he left me with a championship belt and a reminder that should a battle ever commence, he would gladly have my back against Cody, no questions asked. Last I heard, he was traveling the cosmos in his intergalactic space longboat in search of his next championship, and I'm looking forward to meeting him once again on the field of battle, because when we team up, that jagoff Cody doesn't stand a chance. This thrilling installment of the Cody's Milk Saga was brought to you courtesy of the Danish Viking, a top-tier member of the Bounty Board over on Patreon, and it was an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to make this story for you, good sir, so thank you for your support. And of course, the same love goes out to all of the fine members of the Bounty Board whose generosity has given me the opportunity to create content just like this, and it is amazing to have you guys supporting the work that I do. All hail! And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Lockverse, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where I have a special tier for stories just like this. I also have other tiers starting at $5 a month if you'd like to check out some exclusive content that you're not going to find on YouTube, and it's a great way to support the channel at a low price. And of course, you can always support the channel by liking this video, sharing, leaving comments, and if you're enjoying this kind of content, then I hope I've earned your subscription today.
This is a question for single guys or just guys in general. When you were single, or if you're single, you're in a social setting and you want to approach a girl, is it more likely for you to approach a girl that's like a 7 out of 10 or under versus a girl that's 10 out of 10? I say this all because I had a girlfriend that's like drop dead gorgeous, maybe an 11 out of 10, right? Like perfect body, amazing personality, beautiful. Guys would never talk to her. We would go out, guys never gave her the time of day, would never approach her, never talk to her.
I'm shocked.
Well, there's a reason why we don't approach those kinds of women, and that's because those very same women who claim to be perfect 10 straight up demanded that we did it. This demand came with the caveat that if we violated this unofficial pact, then we would be subject to either relentless mockery, social media shaming, or some form of an assault that ends with us getting arrested despite the fact that you're the one who initiated the attack. We ultimately decided that it was easier to agree to your terms than it was to take that particular risk. And even if that wasn't the case, the perfect 10 that you described would also have a 10 out of 10 chance of being completely disinterested in us and would expect us to buy them a drink for having the unmitigated gall to do something so unspeakable as walking up and talking to her. And that wasn't on us. These were the standards that were set by modern women, and yet somehow, after all of the demands, the threats, and the condescending lectures, you're still somehow so shocked that men have lost interest in coming up and talking to you and your quote-unquote friends. You can't have it both ways, sister. The sisterhood demanded social isolation, so you got social isolation. And this is the thanks that we get? Yeah, talk about ungrateful.
I had other friends that were definitely under a 7, maybe under a 5. Constantly guys sending over drinks, guys coming up and approaching them. And my thought is because there's less likely they would get rejected for a girl that's a 7 out of 10 or under versus the 10 out of 10. They're afraid that if they approach the 10 out of 10, maybe she'll reject them or not give them the time of day, where they're not going to close the deal there. But if they go for a 7 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, whatever, it's more likely that they're going to give them the attention.
Are you sure?
Well, golly gee willikers, woman, there's your problem right there. It's a known fact that when a guy approaches a woman, that woman's attractiveness goes down by a minimum of 3.5 points when adjusting for inflation. The numbers game is not about aesthetic attractiveness. It never has been. It has everything to do with your mindset. And it's awfully interesting how you're saying that the men are only approaching women that you deem less attractive than your single girl besties. We see this all the time. Anytime a single woman meets with a halfway decent guy and they hit it off, you're quick to call that woman ugly, or at least uglier than your friends. And the same rule applies if these women are complete strangers to you. You're not talking about how hot these broads are, you're just projecting how they're uglier than your hot friends, and you're merely projecting bitterness because the men aren't talking to you. And instead of maybe reflecting on the idea that you'll have to approach men, you're just gonna lash out at the women who have literally done nothing to you because they're getting the attention and you're not. That's what this is about, woman. And that's the bed that you made on your lonesome.
But really, the 10 out of 10 would have given them attention if they would have just approached with confidence, kindness, being a gentleman.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
And still been able to get her phone number or start the conversation, because she never got approached. She wasn't giving like the resting bitch face or anything like that. She still was interacting with friends. She wasn't on her phone. So just really curious. Let me know in the comments. I want to know what your thought is on this.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
I got a question for you, sweetheart. If these friends of yours were so hot, interesting, and just a total package, and all she wants is some attention from a man, then why isn't she getting off of her lazy ass and approaching the dudes herself? What's stopping her from walking up to a guy and drumming up a conversation? Oh wait, that's right. You don't want to do that. It's too much work, and work makes you cranky. In your eyes, it's the men who have to do everything, and that includes initiating the conversation. And it's just not worth it to most self-respecting men. We see through that particular ruse. There is no chance in hell that an average man is going to get this girl's phone number if he walks up to her with confidence and kindness. It doesn't work that way anymore. She's going to want that same attention from a man that she deems worthy of her time and feigned energy. But here's the problem, lady. Those men really don't exist. We know this because you'll approach those men while leaving the dusties in the dust that's been accumulating in your nether regions. So I'm going to say this to you as kindly and confidently as I possibly can, sweetheart. No man with an ounce of self-respect is going to want to deal with a painfully average-looking broad with delusions of grandeur. We've got too much dignity for that kind of a headache. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you once again for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.